Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we have the full scene box reveal for the Tea Time at the Jasmine Dragon. So if you don't know, this is from the ending of the series. Spoilers if you haven't watched Avatar yet, but this is basically, the final kind of scenes here. So we're going to go through each of the cards. We're going to talk about what comes in the box and if I do think it's worth it. Overall, there is 4 potential new commanders in this box as well. Before we do get into that, make sure you guys subscribe. We are literally about 2,000 subscribers away from hitting our yearly goal, which was 25,000 subscribers, which means that in the last year we have got 15,000 new people who have joined to get that instant speed news. So, make sure you guys subscribe so that way you're not missing out on any of this breakneck speed that Wizards of the Coast reveals stuff at. All right, so let's go through. First of all, what does it contain? You're going to get 6 scene cards, which we'll show in a second, which are 6 cards that are made up of, a scene. They all are unique to the deck, unique to this set, except for you're also going to be able to get them collector boosters. So either you get them from this scene box with the guaranteed, or you get them from collector boosters that, randomly. You also get 6 art cards that are going to show these cards, but without the text on them. You get a display easel, so that way you're able to put them up on display, whether you want the actual cards or whether you want the art cards up on display. And then finally you get 3 play boosters as well. So overall, you're getting a little bit. Usually these aren't too expensive. They're usually cheaper than like a bundle and stuff. And typically they end up going, in my opinion, on clearance eventually, because not everyone's kind of picking up this huge box that doesn't have a whole bunch except for, some special cards in it. All right, so these are the 6 different cards. We saw the Sokka and Suki one yesterday, but there is 6 overall. I'll go through them individually, so don't worry about trying to read them right now. But as you can see, there's 4 legendary creatures up here that you can use as your commander, and then you've got 2 sorceries as well. So the first one here we've got is Mai and Zuko. So they are Grixis, Firebending 3. You may cast ally spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. Now, I'm really shocked that this one is Grixis. To me, I think white is a huge part of, Zuko's identity. I much would have preferred this to be Mardu, and I think that would have been better. Overall, very straightforward effect, right? Like you're using the firebending mana that you're getting, and whether you've got this and then some other firebending cards to go alongside it, and then with that mana there, you can cast your allies and artifacts during that combat before that firebending mana does leave. So very straightforward. You just playing allies and doing an ally-based deck, just playing during combat usually, except for, if you don't have firebending stuff out, I guess. All right, we've got Aang and Katara here. So they are Bant, so green, white, blue, and 3. So it's going to cost you 6. That's fairly hefty. However, when Aang and Katara enter or attack, you're going to create X 1/1 white ally creature tokens, where X is the number of tapped artifacts and or creatures you control. So with this one, you're tapping down your creatures to either attack or tapping them down to crew vehicles, as I'm looking at. Very tempted to be. Like, I absolutely love vehicle decks. But, there's a whole bunch of ways that you can tap down your artifacts and your creatures and stuff for various different effects. And then you bring in Aang Katara, and boom, you're going to create a whole bunch of allies. And then whenever you attack, do that again and again. You probably want them to be, tapped prior to combat, although I guess you can tap them to attack as well with your creatures, so it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, you're just going to pump the board with a whole bunch of allies, which is great because a whole bunch of ally cards care about when this or another ally enters, do something. So you get a huge amount of triggers from that. All right, we've got Toph, Greatest Earthbender. I also love the fact that this is 3 couples, like the 3 kind of main couples from the series and stuff. And then you've got Toph just standing over here, just being like, I'm the greatest earthbender of the world. I'm just going to balance these rocks here. Yeah. So when Toph enters, you're going to Earthbend X, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast her. Now, this is amazing because when you first cast her from the command zone as a commander, she's going to cost 4, right? But if you then have her, die, she goes to the command zone, and then cast her again, you're going to be casting her for 6. You're paying 6 mana. So therefore, you're Earthbending 6. So people removing your commander actually ends up potentially being a benefit if you are ramping enough to therefore keep up with that, because you're just going to get to Earthbend bigger and bigger numbers. She also gives land creatures you control double strike, which is quite strong because now you swing in with your land creatures. They're going to deal damage again. You're going to give them vigilance somehow as well, and then because of the fact they're earthbent, if they then die, then boom, you get to bring them back as just a tapped land, right? It's looking really great. I think this is my most excited, the one that I'm most excited about from the set, the set of the 6 cards here. I think that is a very interesting commander, and it could be, it's very straightforward as well, right? All right, next up, we've got Sokka and Suki. This one here is also interesting. So this is a Jeskai card, blue, red, white. When Sokka and Suki or another ally you control enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to that creature. However, you also have, whenever an equipment you control enters, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. So what this does is it essentially gives all of your equipments the job select mechanic from the Final Fantasy set, right? So you cast your creature, you cast your equipment comes in, then you're going to create a 1/1 ally, then because that ally enters, you can then take that equipment and equip it to it. So you just can cast a huge amount of equipment, and they just essentially get auto-equipped onto the ally that comes out because you brought that equipment in. This is very cool. If you're building an equipment-based deck, I think it's really cool. And then, otherwise your equipment's just sitting over there doing nothing anyway. So you can still move them around. You can move them onto Sokka and Suki if you like. You can, just leave them on that 1/1 red white ally creature token. There is a bunch of really great uses for this. Yeah, that's all. It's really cool. All right, we've got Momo's Heist here. So this one's really cool too. So it's going to, you pay 2 and a red, gain control of target artifact. You untap it, it gains haste. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice it. So you are going to be able to steal someone's, let's say, their 1 ring. You steal their 1 ring. You now have the 1 ring. It's your precious. However, at the beginning of your next end step, you're just going to throw it away. You just throw it into the Mordor because you sacrifice it, right? So it doesn't matter if it's indestructible. It's still sacrifice. So in regards to artifacts, everyone's going to have artifacts, right? Most decks will have some artifacts, whether it's just a soul ring, arcane signet, or, something more integral like a vehicle or, their linchpin artifact creature or something. And then because you don't need to give it back, you just sacrifice it at the next end step. It's really cool. I kind of like this one a lot. It's going to be very useful in a lot of decks, I think. All right, and then our final one here is Uncle's Musings. So it has Converge, return up to X permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. Exile Uncle's Musings. This one, I think, I don't know if I'm going crazy, or maybe someone's going to tell me that I'm completely wrong here. I don't understand why this has Exile Uncle's Musings to start off with, but it doesn't seem all that strong, right? You're paying 4 to potentially return 3 things maximum from your graveyard to your hand because you pay green, that's one of your colors, and then 2 other colors because you've got the 2 colors there. So potentially returning 3 things from your graveyard to your hand that have to be permanents. They have to be permanents. You're only doing it at sorcery speed. And then you're going to exile that card at the end of, after you finish it. I don't know. Am I wrong with this one? Someone tell me how this is broken because I am not seeing how it is strong. But, I like it because it's got Uncle Iroh on it, I guess. I don't know. But that's all of them. So I'd love to hear from you guys if you like any of them, if you think any of them are great commanders or anything like that. Overall, I'm meh on these cards, to be honest. I think that they have potential in other decks, right? I don't think as a commander, they're incredibly interesting or incredibly, powerful or something like that. I do think that Toph is a great commander, especially for a newer player, right? If the newer player wants to kind of do earthbending and stuff like that, have your land creatures, it's good and going to be really strong in other decks. Sokka and Suki is probably the most interesting one of all of them, but overall, and Momo's Heist is good, but overall, I think that, I don't know. I think that I'd probably wait for it to be on a bit of a discount before I went and purchased this one. You're going to be able to pick this up from your LGS or from whatever, local game store you've got that sells any Magic products. And that's going to, or maybe it'll be up on Amazon as well, because I don't think many people are going to be wanting to get this. And yeah, I'd probably just wait until it's a little bit on discount. But overall, the cards are cool. I'm just not sure about the price of it compared to the cards that are cool but not insanely powerful, like, for example, the Final Fantasy ones. But let me know what you guys think. As I said, I'm a little bit disappointed, but I still am absolutely loving the set, and I do think that there is worth like uses for these cards, and I think that would be fun in a bunch of different decks, just not necessarily as commanders. Hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.